Hey everyone, it's Connor from Koyfin here. We recently released Fund Percentile ranks, so today I'm going to show you a little bit about what they are, how you can use them in Koyfin to further your analysis. So what I'm showing you on the screen here is our equity percentile ranks, which many of you may be familiar with. Right now I'm filtered on NVIDIA, and we have a bunch of rows and a bunch of columns here. So just focusing on this category, which is valuation multiples, what we're showing you is NVIDIA currently has a forward price to earnings of 41.6 times relative to its own 10-year history. That's in the 69th percentile. Relative to the US tech sector, it's in the 72nd. And relative to the US as a country, it's in the 88th. These percentile scores have a range of 0 to 100, 100 being the highest percentile, meaning that it's higher than everything else in the population. Or in plain English, NVIDIA's price to earnings on a forward basis is higher than 72% of the population, which in this case is the US tech sector. So with that in mind, we now have this data for US and Canadian mutual funds and ETFs. So if I search for SPY, I now have a similar looking table with percentile scores. The format is slightly different. So SPY is an ETF. So we will show you this relative to all US funds, which includes both ETF and mutual funds. And we'll also show you the data relative to just US ETFs. If you ever forget this, there is a little tooltip up here which clarifies that for you as well. So on the left-hand side here, we have versus US funds and versus US ETFs. That's kind of a country grouping, if you like. And then on the right-hand side, we have versus US large cap blend funds and versus US large cap blend ETFs. This is a country plus classification of the fund. We have various categories. We have price and performance. We have characteristics like dividend yield, expense ratios, duration for bond assets, total assets, and turnover. And for US ETFs, we also have valuation percentiles as well. So for SPY, we can see that its forward earnings of 22.7 is greater than 71% of US ETFs. We can see that relative to US large cap blend ETFs, it's higher than 61% of those funds. Overall, just eyeballing the figures, it looks like most of the valuation multiples for the S&P 500 Trust are in about the 65th to 75th percentile range. Scrolling down, we also have some valuation yields as well, which again are just supported for US ETFs at the moment. And then we also have some quantitative metrics as well. So here you'll find things like Sharpe, drawdowns, sortinos, skewness, and this will again be compared against those four buckets. If I now change the filter to something like QQQ, which tends to be a bit more growth orientated, we can look at the valuation multiples and see that they're, closer towards the low 80s to mid 90s percentiles. So all of this data looks really nice in a percentile rank snapshot. However, you can also use this data in the watch list and the screener as well. So let's jump over to watch list quickly. Here I have a list of ETFs and mutual funds with some key data. If I go to the column picker now, we have a new category called Percentile Ranks Funds, where you can see those categories in the snapshot, such as characteristics, valuation, quantitative, and price and performance. You can have a poke around and see what kind of data that we're offering here. Alternatively, you can also search for those as well. You add these to your watch list just like you would any other data series. And here's an example of some of them that I've populated. So up at the top here on the columns, I have the dividend yield versus all funds. I have the dividend yield versus all funds of the same class. I have some Sharpe ratio, expense ratio, and you can see those scores in the rows here. In the screener, we also have this data available as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open a new screener. We'll get started from scratch, and we'll focus on the ETF screener for now. So universe criteria is the same as it's always been. You can add classifications or descriptions. But when you come down to the filter criteria, you now have percentile ranks available to you as well. So we're focused on US ETFs right now. Let's take a look at the price to earnings versus all in the same classification. These work the same as other percentiles in Koyfin. You can now specify a range. So if I'm looking for funds that have a PE in the below the 75th percentile, that takes my results from about 4,300 down to 1,500. And you can add in other criteria here as well, such as AUM or dividend yield or expense ratios. And you can get quite creative. And when you're happy with that, you can create the screen And from there, you can add additional columns. You can save that as a watch list. You can share it with someone else, or you can just stay in the table and analyze all of the funds that you have filtered for. So that just about does it for this video. As always, you can reach out to us by commenting in the comment section below. Our help desk is help@koyfin.com. We are at Koyfin Charts across all of our socials. Until next time, thank you.